everybody, and welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games in which we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by the great people at GameSurplus.com. Hey there, this is episode 4 of Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host, Norm.
And I'm Ryan.
And on today's episode, we're going to talk about The Lost Expedition and
Arboretum.
Bridge City board gamers are proud to identify the good, the bored, and the ugly as our cardboard cohorts. In this growing community, it's important to create relationships that help you learn, grow, and support one another. You can find their podcast on iTunes and their channel on YouTube, where they produce and create new content every week. Welcome back. This is Cardboard Conjecture, and today we're going to talk about Lost Expedition and Arboretum, and we'll start off with Arboretum, and I'll hand it over to Ryan. So if you want to give us the nuts and bolts, we can get this going.
Sure. So I'm going to talk about Arboretum. Came out about, I think, in 2015. The designer is Dan Kasser, with the artists Philip Guerin and Chris Quilliams. I apologize if I butchered any names. And the publisher, the version that we've got, is the ZMan Games edition. So a little bit about this game is that it's a card game. It's a kind of like a hand management card tableau building,
it's
set
a
collecting.
mind crunch.
It's got a whole bunch of things going on that are really, really cool to make it a really neat little game. So obviously the object of this game is to score the most points, and that's probably the most complicated thing about this game. I'm going to try my best. So in Arboretum, you're always going to have a hand of 7 cards, and these cards are going to be a whole bunch of different types of trees. We're arborists. We'll go with it, yeah. And we're going to be trying to build a little bit of a kind of like the best
tree park.
Tree park, yeah. And building paths of these different types of trees. So there's 8 different trees in the game. In a 2-player game, I believe you only play with 6 of them. And yeah, so when you on your turn, when you have your 7 cards, you are going to have first draw cards. And that's a unique thing too, is when you draw cards in the hand, you can take from your discard pile, the top of the deck, or your opponent's discard pile, which is always kind of a really neat little thing to build a hand up to 9 cards.
Every time you draw from my pile, it feels like an invasion of privacy.
Oh yeah, you get a lot of good stuff in there sometimes, so of course I'm going to take advantage of that. And so then, now I got a hand of 9 cards. Now I'm going to place one onto the table. And
into your tableau or your arboretum.
Yeah, into your arboretum, into your tableau. And if there's already cards there, it always has to be orthogonally adjacent, so left, right, up, down, next to a different card. And then you have to discard a card so that you're back down to 7 again. And that decision of what I'm going to discard, I'm going to touch on a little bit later, it's so hard to try to decide what I'm going to discard to you.
For me,
because you can draw it.
Yeah. That's what makes the game, is that decision of what am I putting in and what am I putting away. So
over the course of many, many rounds, this is going to go back and forth, or around the table, depending on how many players you have. The game will end when the deck of draw cards runs out. And at that stage, you're going to try to score your tree park. And how that's done is, let's just say one of the trees is oak trees. And I've got some oak trees in my tree park, and you've got some oak trees in your tree park. Well, possibly only one of us is going to be able to score for our oaks. What's left in your hand is a resource. And so you have to say, if I want to score my oak trees, I have to have oak tree cards left in my hand. And so if I have oak trees left in my hand, and they tally up to, let's say they total up to 5. There's a 2 and a 3 there. There's total up to 5. But if you've got the 6 in your hand, you now have the right to score your oak trees.
And the oak trees have to score like with a beginning oak and an ending oak.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that part.
Okay.
So you get the right to score the oak trees. And if there's a tie, we both get to score our oak trees. Now, how the scoring is, hopefully on your path, you have a beginning oak tree.
I like how you say hopefully.
Hopefully. You have a beginning oak tree and an ending oak tree. And you have to be able to draw an orthogonal path from the lowest valued oak tree to the highest, or as high as you can possibly go.
Yeah.
And the path has to be in increasing order. So like a 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 would be an okay path. Now, you get 1 point for every card in that path from one oak tree to another oak tree. If the path consists of all oak trees, which is what I always try to do, you score double points. So every card in that path is now worth 2 points.
And it's very hard to do that too.
Oh, yeah. And if your path begins with the number 1, you score 1 additional point. And if your path ends with the number 8, you score 2 additional points. Now, most of the time, the 1 and the 8 might not even be on the table because there's a neat little thing with the hand management where if you're holding back those cards, if you're holding back the 8 saying, ha, 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 I'm going to score for my oak trees and I've got the 8, well, if Norm has the number 1 in his hand, that cancels out my number 8.
And then my 1 becomes the most valued card in
the
that
8,
comparison.
The 8 essentially becomes a 0 if the opponent has the number 1 in their hand. Did I do an okay job?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because right now I'm having recall going, I made that mistake, and I made that mistake. And
that's the toughest part about this game is trying to explain to somebody how do you score points.
Well, there's those two things. You've got your tableau that you have to think about, and then you have to have the cards in your hand that support your Arboretum and block any scoring potential that you have. And so I'm holding cards for mine, and I'm trying to hold cards or species of trees that will take away points from yours. So
it's about that halfway
mind crack.
About the halfway point of the game. You're holding these 7 cards, or you have 9 cards in your hand. You're like, okay, I think I know what I want to play, but I have no idea what I'm going to discard because that whole thing that you can take from my discard pile, it opens up the whole world of possibilities. And you're like, okay, but I got to make sure that I hold on to this so that Norm can't score his. I can see he's got a big old path of maple trees, and I don't want him to score the maple trees. There's
so much, like, the idea of what am I predicting is in your hand compared to my hand compared to what's in the, to be drawn deck.
Yeah,
and the idea of what went away in the discard pile.
Oh, I know, and trying to remember what was actually played. That came up on our very last game that we just played. And I'm holding some cards. I'm like, I can't remember if this was discarded or if it's still in his hand or if it's still yet to be drawn, and it's bugging me. And it's a really, really nifty little mind crunch.
Oh, right,
for such a simple card game. It's just a deck of 80 cards. That's all it is. And
the cognitive puzzle is so compelling, though. That's what just burns my brain with this game.
Yeah, so one of my main things is that we've played this game now a few times. We've only played it 2-player though. We haven't played it at the 3 or 4-player game. I can't imagine
4-player would just be brutal.
It'd be a knife fight in a phone booth.
It would be analysis paralysis with a lot of threatening suggestions to hurry up.
Oh yeah, because the game says it only supposed to play in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, right? With a computer maybe.
We've yet to do that one, but that's because we're sitting there and we're looking at these cards and I'm like, I don't know what to play right now.
Well, and I try not to overthink it, but then, like you said, what am I going to discard that you don't find valuable?
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. Let's go through the opinions of it. All right. Box art.
Box art.
Let's go from the outside and work in towards the game.
Sure. The box art is a very simple little box, like your typical small card game. It's got a very nice, elaborate design, tree in the middle, and lots of labyrinth. This is that little box series that ZMan Games put out that had a whole bunch of things like in this art. Like there was a Black Spy was in this series, Parade was in this series as well. And Arboretum.
Is Fairy Tale or something like that?
I think Fairy Tale fits into this card,
Yeah.
but not the same box art.
Oh, okay. As far as the style goes.
Yeah.
And that art style of the trees carries over onto the cards, which the card art is great. I love it.
Yeah, they did a really bang-up job with this. And
It reminds me of what you'd find in like a botanical textbook or something. Just the way that it's very very finely drawn, and it's got these washed out colors. So that really appealed to me is the art aspect of it. And the numbers, don't think I'm old, but the numbers are nice and big and you can see them, and there's no,
and they just portrayed to the OCD in me that my trees have to be upright when I'm playing.
Oh, that was driving you nuts. I had my tableau, my trees were upright, upside down, just as long as I could see the numbers, and I'd look over at Ryan's and his were like perfect, OCD perfect. And I mean, if one was crooked by a degree, he would correct it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, the box art, excellent. The card art, excellent. I agree.
The rule book is very well written, very easy to follow. The only rule that we couldn't find in it was, can you actually look into the discard pile? But we unanimously said that you can't.
Yeah, we
It's that
checked
style
in.
of game.
And the one person's comments made sense to me. If it's a pile, you can only see the top of the pile. You can't dig through the pile.
Right.
If it was to say splay the cards, then to me, yeah, you have the ability to see what's underneath the top card. But
Yeah.
a
And
pile is done for me.
And I go by the fact that if it doesn't explicitly state in the rule book that you can or cannot do it, then I just assume that you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Well, just like that suggestion that I said about, like on a memory game, people will take a piece of paper out and write down stuff. And my opinion is, if you were meant to write down stuff, then the game would have given you the components to write down stuff. So if it's not there, then you can't house rule it.
Exactly. So overall, my conjecture is I traded Norm for this game because I needed to have it.
Well, for one, there was your completionist theory.
Yes, I have almost all of these small box. I'm only missing a couple now of these small box Z-Man card games, and they all hit the table quite regularly too. So,
which is probably the purpose of that small box series is to just get it on the table and get playing right away.
yes.
So what do you think of this whole game system about the tableau and the paths and the chronological order?
They all integrate very smoothly and seamlessly. So going from the point of I have a hand of cards, I have to play one and discard one, that's a tough decision. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, wait, now I got to actually make my path. And now, okay, I got a 2 here, and now where do I put my 3 so that, oh, wait, I have do I wait for the 4 to come out, or do I just skip up to the 6? And then I have to hold on to cards to make sure that I can actually score the path, or maybe I hold on to the cards so that Norm can't score his paths. And there's a whole bunch of things. I think what my comment was, I felt like a high school student and learning the quadratic formula, and I had no idea what was going on. At times you're doing like this high level calculus thinking in your mind, and
I'm starting to have a rule that like this game is, as far as its instructions go, straightforward. You pick up 2 cards, you play one to your tableau, and you discard one. Anytime that I find a game that has a very simple, straightforward structure like that, it's a very heavy mind puzzle game, because the first thing I'm thinking
it can be a very high.
The first thing I'm thinking of is Le Havre. You have 2 choices. You either pick from the docks or you pick a building. And that's the only thing you do. But that is the deepest game.
But the game provides you so much other stuff that you have to be thinking about.
And that's the same thing with this, is that, you pick up 2 cards, play one to your tableau, play one to your discard, but the choices are so difficult.
So many things you have to be thinking about. Where am I going to put it? What am I going to hold on to? A bunch of different things.
And the game is like one mechanism. It's card play.
Well, there's multiple mechanisms in here. It's not just card play.
There you go.
It's card management. It's tableau building.
I was trying to draw that one out of you.
You're a very good teacher, sir.
Thank you very much.
So what's your thoughts?
Well, I've yet to figure out a strategy. I thought I had a strategy going into last game, which was don't try to build every species, but I mean, as far as like, I want to try to build an oak tree path, like, 6 cards. To me, I'm thinking like the minimum is 2 cards, right?
Yes.
So I was thinking I'm going to try and get as many 3-card and 4-card paths going on so that I can at least get a little bit of everything. But then it comes back to that idea of I have to have a card representing that species path in order to score it, and it has to be more than yours as far as like the total point value.
Yeah.
That was so hard.
Yeah, in our games, I found in a 2-player game, at least with the number of times that we played it, you need, in order to have a chance at winning, you need to score at least 2 paths.
Yeah.
You have to score at least 2 paths.
And I was always thinking that, the point scores are going to be way up there, like in the 20s. And we've had games where it was in like, 5 to 7 and
11 to 9.
Yeah, it was. There was not even that huge score pointage that you'd think would be happening. But boy, these points are difficult to come by.
Oh yeah, especially if you're just holding on to the cards just so that I can't score a path. Well, there's a number of times there's multiple tree species that are not even going to get scored.
What's your opinion about the allure to the game? If they didn't have that mechanism of hanging on to cards of the similar species to score, would this game be just as alluring to you? If it was just building this tableau?
No, it's the interaction of what does he have and how am I going to make sure that I can score but he can't, type of thing.
And what cards do I keep?
If this is just a simple, I'm just going to put a card down on the table and I'm going to discard things and I'm going to try to build a big back. No,
that would be a one and done for me. It'd be like, this is cute.
It'd be. That's exactly what it'd been. It'd be resulted to like a kid's game where you can learn how to count points.
Yeah.
But it's that whole hand management thing. That's what really makes this game rich.
That's the one that I think the reason why I passed it on to you is because it frustrated me to the point where, I'm not having fun. Let's play that game again. This game drives me nuts. Okay, one more time.
One more time.
Oh yeah,
it's supposed to play quick. It's supposed to play quick.
Analysis paralysis.
If you are the kind of person that will sit there and think about and think about and think about and think about, yeah, it's going to take a little while. But
the last point in opinions is, does it all connect?
Oh yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, they integrated, they designed it very well.
Yeah, it's smooth. Like from the point of how easy, like pick up 2 cards, play 1 card to your tableau, play 1 card to the discard pile. Everything to me, and thematically too. It's an arboretum, it's trees, but it's that playing against your opponent part, which starts to appeal to me, because now it comes down to how much do you know of the opponent and how does the opponent's mind work and how often in the past have they stabbed other players in the back? And no, I'm alluding to Ryan's TI4 experience.
I'm never going to get another alliance in any other game ever again.
All right, conclusions, Ryan.
Well, you know my conclusion. This is a great game. It's going on the shelf with all my other small box ZMan games. It's going to come out very well. I'm going to introduce this one to my wife, Jen, and she's going to. I got a good prediction that she's going to enjoy this one.
She likes the
She likes the abstract, puzzle-y type of games, and so I think this one will fit right into her wheelhouse.
And this one definitely isn't your solitaire type thing where you're just working on your tableau, because there's that part where you have to keep cards that your opponent is trying to make a path with. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I liked your conclusion before about the quadratic formula. This game is like a quadratic formula.
It doesn't make sense right now, and it's confusing as heck.
When am I ever going to use this math?
But it all comes together in the end.
Awesome. So I agree. This definitely is a game. And again, I can't say, it's going to stay on my shelf, because it didn't stay on my shelf. It stayed on your shelf. But as we always say, it's still in the community.
It's still in the community.
All right. Well, moving on, I'm going to present.
We're going to go on the opposite end of the 2-player spectrum.
Exactly. A little gem that I have to thank Carmen for at GameSurplus.com. Called The Lost Expedition, and this game was designed by Pierre Sylvester, illustrated by Garen Ewing, and this is published by Osprey Games. Now, let's do the nuts and bolts. I'm just going to give you the overview. So, in the Lost Expedition, you'll be leading a team of 3 explorers to follow the path of Percy Fawcett on the road to El Dorado. To win the game, simply get to the Lost City with one of those explorers still alive, which is very difficult.
Oh, my
You'll
gosh.
have to make the best use of your expertise and resources to survive as you head deeper into the jungle. Resources are represented by tokens. Expertise is represented by the symbols on the cards. There are 3 types of each. You have food, ammunition, health, and in the expertise you have jungle, navigation, and camping. Each explorer is a specialist in one area of expertise, as represented by the symbols on their cards. The explorers are otherwise identical. If an explorer loses their last health token, they die.
Which will happen lots.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
They
it
are
happens
removed from the
lots.
game and cannot return. If all 3 explorers die, the players immediately lose. So, I think that, it's your card play mechanism. It reminded me of a solo game by Friedman called Friday, where you basically, you're pulling cards, you're playing cards, you're evaluating their resources, you're making tough decisions. How do you win this game? Well, basically there's a set of cards called the journey cards that go 1 to 9, and you can vary this. It can be 7 cards if you want to ease your game, but basically you have a meeple that starts at card 1, and through the actions on the cards that you play in your morning and evening journey, the meeple either advances, or you collect resources, or you take damage to your characters, or you simply have your characters die. So that is pretty much the premise. You have these journey cards. You have a deck of cards that have, I guess, events on them and resources on them. Some are good, some are bad. Each player has 6 cards, and as it starts, you have a morning sequence where I'll play 2 cards, and on the cards there's a numerical value that comes into effect for the morning, but not in the evening. So as you play, if I was to start, I'd play my 2 cards. I'd put them in a chronological order. Then Ryan would play 2 cards. He'd put them in a chronological order. Then I'd put 1 card down, put it in its order. Ryan would put a card down, put it in its order. Then we take our meeple representing the morning journey and go on each card and evaluate it. Some cards, like I said, are positive. Some cards are negative. Will give you resources, take away resources, move you down the path. A lot of interesting decisions to make in regards to how this card will affect the next card or will negate the next card.
There's a lot more negative than positive effects. There's a positive effect, but at what cost?
Oh, at a huge cost, yeah. So it's, for me, let's just go into the opinions. As we said, outside in, let's start with the box. The box art, to me, right away struck a nostalgic point because I grew up from a French background, so I grew up reading Tintin, or for the English people, Tintin. So this art was very, very similar. I'd have to do some research to see if there's a influential connection with the Tintin artist, or Tintin. But yeah, to me, it's got this 1950s era kind of art style to it. Appealed to me right away, drew my eye instantly. The cards are very reflective of that same art style. Nice big titles, bold colors. Nothing as far as the contrasting goes. It's really easy to see what the symbols are. There's no...
Yeah, very clear.
Yeah, there's no visual confusion at all. So I like that a lot.
This kind of reminded me kind of the art style, and I don't know if it's the same artist or not, but it kind of reminded me of the Grizzled
Yeah.
Kind of remind me of that kind of.
Yeah, that kind of antique.
Actually, the gameplay kind of a little bit itself too kind of reflects the Grizzled as well, but
because it's
but a completely different game.
Yeah, I think I failed to say that this is a cooperative game. So yeah, like the Grizzled, it's cooperative. You can't communicate what's in your hands. Same situation with this one, where I can't say, "Oh, put that one down because I have this one." It's more reacting to the action that or the card play action that is presented in front of you. The rule book, easy, absolutely straightforward, easy. The layout was, I would say, smooth. Like it was a very logical order, good examples. The game system, we kind of touched the game system bit how in a description of how to play it.
But it's actually a very nice, elegant,
yes,
and smooth because we sat down. You said, "Hey, let's play Lost Expedition." I said, "I have no idea what this game is about," and you
5 minutes,
5 minutes maybe less. Because, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got this," and then we went.
Yeah, and I think for gamers, just their all around familiarity with game systems, that once you started, all of a sudden you get this kind of, oh, it's like this game.
Yep. After round number 1, I had it dialed in.
Yeah. I'll describe, given this part about like the game system and style, the second half of the day is the evening. And in the evening, the only difference is I still play 2, you play 2, I play 1, and you play 1 to have 6 cards. But in the evening part, if you don't respect the card chronology, you basically put them, as you put them down, that's the sequence that the evening's going to happen.
Right, there's no rearranging from lowest to highest numerical value.
And and thematically too, I'm kind of putting that to, in the daytime, you can see where you're going. In the nighttime, you can't see where you're going. So you're just putting the cards down because that's the order they come out of your hand. So again, I always try to see, the reasoning from a theme point of view as to how the mechanism works. Mm-hmm. And speaking of mechanisms, what do you think?
Just a simple, got my cards, just going to play them down, try to
hand
puzzle,
management. Yeah,
try to puzzle it out of what's the best sequence for us to put these cards after you've put down your 2 cards and I need to put down my 2. I'm like, well, somebody's going to be taking a lot of damage this turn. I'm going to try, but I don't have any cards that will heal us. So I'm like, well, what's the lesser of 2 evils right now? And I'm going to put that one down. And
it just occurred to me that because Ryan's a math teacher, that this is very much a math formula. You're creating this math formula, hoping that nobody dies.
Kind of like that, and evaluating it as an order of operations. Like
Absolutely.
This is going to get evaluated, then this, then this. So if I can kind of have some information ahead of time, and I can hopefully try to either negate it or skip over it, or prepare for it.
And you can see, like later in the day, we're going to need bullets. So earlier in the day, we're going to need to find out how we can get bullets so that the end of the day isn't going to be, devastation.
Right. Or at the end of the day, the character with the camping symbol on it, he's going to be taking 2 hits. So is there any way that we can gain some health for that person beforehand?
There's a few times where we had our 6 cards laid out, and as we're going to start, we both looked at each other and went, oh, well, this person's not going to make it. Okay, so strategy. This is, like you said, like the Grizzled, because you can't communicate to each other, you just have to hope that, okay, the cards that I have, hopefully there's a balance with the cards that you have, and as they come down, it's sort of like, we'll fix it in the mix.
Yeah, because there is a symbol there where if you come across it, you're allowed to swap the positions of 2 cards side by side.
Yeah. And
we use that to our advantage multiple times. We're like, well, if we actually switch these 2 cards, then nothing bad's actually going to happen to us.
Yeah. On the 3 cards, there's sort of a rule that a yellow color means you have to do this action.
Red color is you have to choose one of the options.
Yeah. So basically, pick your poison, as I like to refer to it.
Yeah, none of the red ones are ever really any good.
And then the blue ones are...
You may do it.
Yeah, if you're willing to sacrifice something, you get a benefit. Mm-hmm. And you may do this. So at least there's some kind of path that you can take within the card as it connects to the context of the other cards. Does this all connect? Absolutely.
Oh, like the events on the cards. Like the cards represent sort of events on your pathway. So like if you encounter a poisonous spider, you're thinking, well, of course, all the option there is somebody's taking a hit.
Oh yeah, somebody's either getting really sick or someone's dying.
Or you have to swim across a pond of piranhas. That one's horrible.
I like that one where it says sacrifice 2 food to move in one space, and you think, okay, we're just going to throw a couple stakes in the water so that the piranha go attack the stakes so we can wade through this little swamp. The thematic connection with the
actions
game
that
system,
you get to do with whatever the card says is happening at the time, it's really cool.
It doesn't take much of a leap to be convinced of the title of the card or the theme of the card and the actions that are happening. Mm-hmm. So I love that connection. My conclusion for this one, because it has a solo mode, so I'm sold right there. It has a solo mode, it has a cooperative mode, and it has a head-to-head mode. So I like the variability of this. I like the fact that there's a big deck of cards, so your game is going to be varied pretty much every time you play. I could see myself playing this over and over and over in solo mode, at least trying to get one. I still haven't won this game, which I like.
And the few places that I've had with you as well, we haven't won.
Not even close to getting halfway.
Well, no, our first one, we kind of got about 3/4 of the way down the path.
And then realized, okay, this game's going to be hard.
Yeah, and we're like, I'm like, we still got 3 more cards to go. How?
Yeah. Well, I thoroughly enjoy this game, but I'm going to give you a warning. If you play cooperative games and you like to win all the time, this game will challenge you all the way to the fact that you may not win in 20 games.
Oh yeah, that's a good sign of a good cooperative type of game. You shouldn't be able to win every single time.
Yeah, I like a co-op game that sits on the shelf and taunts you. You've not won yet. Put me to the table. Try again. So yeah, as far as like doing a comparison, we've pretty much hit that. Like the Grizzled, it's very similar to the Grizzled. Has its own flair. In
my mind, I'm trying to think of which one I would prefer, and at this time, I don't think I can prefer one or the other. They both operate in a very similar system, but both play quite a bit different. But I don't know if there's room on somebody's shelf for both of them.
There's always room on the shelf for both. Well, these are small games.
If you keep building more shelves, of course there's room.
Just go to Home Depot. There's got to be shelves on sale.
If I put them side by side right now, I don't know which one I would, because I really enjoyed the Grizzled. I really enjoyed these plays. So is this one where it's like, hey, I played Lost Expedition last time. I'll play Grizzled this time. Hey, I played Grizzled last time. I'm going to play Lost Expedition this time. I don't know if I can make a decision of. I don't think not one's better than the other.
Yeah, there's similar feels, as you said, as far as mechanisms go. They're very similar. The themes are completely different.
Yeah, this one offers you, I think this one offers you, the Lost Expedition offers you a few more choices.
Yeah.
In what to do, in that the planning process of your movements comes out a little bit better in the Lost Expedition.
What's a good sign for me as far as the conclusion goes is as soon as we're done this podcast, the game's sitting right there, and I'm thinking we can squeak in a game.
Yeah, we still got about 20 minutes until
class. We got
about
20 minutes, yeah.
Until class starts.
So, so for me, both games, very positive conclusion. I really like Arboretum, and I really like the Lost Expedition. Of the two, if you forced me to say pick one to play, I would probably go with Lost Expedition.
Oh, I went opposite. I'd play Arboretum.
Well, and that's probably, the way our minds are. You got that math brain. I've got this narrative kind of mind. So, but not to deny Arboretum and.
Oh no, both these games they're good games and really worth checking out.
I'm happy I was able to play them and that I'll be continuing to play them, so that's a good sign for me.
On a small note, Lost Expedition is a kind of a newer title, a little bit easier to come by in game stores.
Oh yeah.
Arboretum is not, and this is kind of a little itch I have. It's a great game. There's been talks about having a reprint for a long time. ZMan Games, if you're listening, people want a reprint of this game. We don't want to spend $70-$80 on the black market for this game.
Well, let's wrap. That's a good segue to wrap this up. A plead to the publisher to put it back out there. So, well, thanks for listening to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host, Norm.
And I'm Ryan.
And we'll catch you later. We are Bridge City Board Gamers, and you can find us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter @BC Board Gamers. Our Facebook page is Saskatoon Tabletop Games Community, and on BGG Board Game Geek Guild number 3039.